morning.
Good morning.
All right. Today we are continuing our series in choosing joy. And just let me overview for you a little bit. And the first week we talked about how joy is created for us to be discovered, how we have to protect it and we have to celebrate it. And that how no one really steals your joy. Nothing really, we have that saying that, or something or someone stole my joy. No. You can give it away, but they can't steal it because that's a gift from God. Last week, my buddy Chris, Superman, he preached on anxiety, worry, and depression and how to overcome that with joy. I hope you were here for that. His wife Jessica shared a little bit from her heart too. And next week we're going to talk about the path of joy, like how do we get back kind of on track. But today is really special because I know that today we can all relate. Now, I feel like we can all relate to all this, but today especially we can relate because we're going to talk about something we don't like to talk about. And that's forgiveness. Yeah, now you're like, God, why'd I come today? I don't have to forgive somebody I'm mad at. Anger, right? Bitterness. Sometimes we just get in these routines and these rhythms of negative feelings. And or people have hurt us or something like that, and we make mistakes also ourselves. We have to go and ask for forgiveness because guess what? We're not perfect. You're not perfect, guys. You're not right all the time. Ladies, you're not either. I know that hurts. That stings for some of us, right? It stings. But we're not right all the time, and many times we even like to convince ourselves that what we did was right, even though we know it was wrong. Like up here, we're like, oh well. I did that because they treated me like this. And the Bible says, do unto others. So they did that to me. So of course I should do it to them. Why do we do that? Anybody have an idea? We do that because we don't like to be wrong. We don't like to admit that we've made mistakes, that we might have hurt somebody. Right? But because we've allowed ourselves to be defined by our failures, not how God sees us. So many times we look at our failures and we say, that must be the type of person I am. And we keep living it over and over and over. Guess what it produces? Guilt. Right? Guilt. How many of you have dealt with guilt before? If you don't raise your hand, you're lying. Because that means you never made a mistake. Right? That means you never made a mistake. Look, we've all dealt with guilt. And what we do when we start hiding that is we begin to see and experience this thing called happiness disappear. But it's really not happiness. See, happiness is what comes as a result of what God's already freely given us, and that's called joy. Okay? He gives us that freely. No one can take that, but we can damper it, we can give it away, we can let other things affect it, and therefore the outcome, happiness, isn't there. How many times have you caught yourself saying, I wish I could just be a little bit happier? Right? We've all been there. We have all been there at some point, right? But here's the deal. Happiness fades. It's temporary. Joy is eternal. So today, we're going to talk about how do we return and how do we chase after the eternal joy instead of happiness. But let's get past the surface level of being happy and let's get down to the root and see how can we live with this joy and choose a joyful life that God's already given us, right? So let's just agree. Let's set a premise, okay? And if you agree with me, you can nod your head or whatever. Or you can just go, no, I don't agree. But at some point, we've all just felt miserable. Okay, good. There's one person shaking their head no, they're delusional. No, I'm just kidding. At one point, we've all been miserable, right? And for some reason, we just can't pull ourselves out of this mud hole, right? And you just keep swimming in it. One of the analogies I use a lot of times is, two people fall in a mud hole, a believer and a non-believer. Someone who's given their life to Jesus, someone who hasn't. And someone who hasn't given their life to Jesus, they just kind of swim around in there. They blame it on everybody else. I can't believe that somebody allowed this mud hole to happen. And they wait for somebody to come save them. And they complain about the mud hole. And a believer may be in there and be like, I'm getting this exfoliation, the mud mask. And they try to start climbing out. They see the edge. They try. Because, see, there's this hope and this joy that's inside of you that changes your perspective. But here's the deal. If you just get used to the mud hole, you don't know what's out there. You don't know the better life that's out there. It takes work to get out of the mud hole. Amen?
Amen.
It takes work. Sometimes it's like quicksand. Okay? And you just feel awful, right? And here's why we feel that way. You may have guilt. You may feel guilty about your past. You may feel like you're not good enough, or you can climb out of the mud hole. You may kind of still feel unworthy about some things that went wrong, or some negative thoughts that run through your mind. Maybe you still have some bad habits that you've prayed about, you've tried to get rid of, but they keep coming back over and over and over and over again. You know, and maybe you sit there and say, I know how bad I am. How could God truly love somebody like me? You know, I mean, I sin every day. I fail every day. How could He continue to love someone like me? And maybe, just maybe, deep down, someone's hurt you, and you got some really pent-up anger and bitterness that holds you in that mud hole. I mean, we like to be angry at people, don't we? Being angry is a whole lot easier sometimes. This world teaches us that negativity is easy. Being positive in a negative situation is not easy. That's what we're called to be. As believers, if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you are called to somehow find a positive in a negative situation. I know it's hard. I know we need help from others sometimes. But, folks, if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you got all the hope in the world. Right? You know this place is temporary. Anything that's thrown at you is going to come and it's going to go. Because you know what eventually is going to happen? You're going to be in glory. So, you know, we can find hope. We can go another step further than somebody who doesn't have it, right? You know you're a believer, but you do at times, because of all the things that push in on you in life and harboring negativity, harboring anger, harboring bitterness. Maybe you haven't forgiven somebody. Maybe somebody needs to forgive you. You know, all that kind of stuff. You find yourself saying, I just can't capture the joy that I used to have or I see in others. Anybody ever been there? It's hard, right? It's hard. And so I want to give you 3 reasons today on why you probably are having trouble finding and experiencing that joy that you may have had years ago or maybe even longer. Right? And here's what they are. It's your history, it's your habits, right? And your hurts. Those are the 3 things that can keep you from experiencing that joy that God has for you. With your history, it's these past sins that are still haunting you, right? You're still holding guilt from them. And that's hard, right? And with your hurts, it could be something that someone did to you, right? It could be something you did to yourself. Or maybe, just maybe, you feel that God let you down somehow. And you're hurt. He didn't show up like you thought He should. And then last, it's kind of like your habits, right? What you do today sets tone for tomorrow. Sets a precedent for tomorrow. And the things we continue to do, although we don't want to, and we know that we shouldn't. You know, a habit is broken or started in 45 to 60 days. 45 to 60 days. Well, I don't know if y'all seen this speech on the internet that's floated around from this, I think it's a naval officer giving a graduation speech or something like that. And they teach the recruits, and I think everybody goes through Army training. First thing you do in the morning, you got to know how to make your bed. You got to do it right. And it's a simple task, but they do that so at the end of the day, regardless of how many failures they've had, they know they did one thing right. Okay, one thing right. I don't like making my bed. We're just going to get right back in it, right? But you know, when you clean the house or you go into a hotel room, we're up in a hotel for like 4 days, we had some water damage. It's just nice to go in and the bed is made, right? It's like the whole room's clean, even though it's not. Because the bed's made, right? And you have this in your mind. But you know, a habit can create that. It could create this lifestyle of doing the right thing. You know, and it's not these big major changes. It's not like, oh, I've got to change everything about who I know. Just find the little things that eventually can help you produce the greater changes. Paul said it this way, and it was great. And I feel like I can really relate with Paul in this. In Romans 7:15, he says, what I don't understand about myself is that I decide one way, but then I act another, doing things I absolutely despise. How many times have we been there? Amen. Thank you, Paul. I mean, the man was on my level because we decided to do something good, and lo and behold, by the end of the day, you're just like, man, what was I thinking? You know? And we all, I know we've all been there in different points in our lives, and we decide to do the right thing, but these hurts and this history and our habits, they keep us from moving forward. When we think about our history, you know, you may even say, you know, if you knew, Pastor, what I've been through or what I've done in the past and the hurt that I've caused people, you know, you wouldn't like me. I don't even know how God likes me. Maybe with your hurts, you kind of feel wounded, betrayed. Very hard to trust anyone anymore. I know we've all been there sometime. And because of that, what happens in your walk with Jesus is you're not able to be vulnerable with the one that created you. You're not able to be vulnerable and trust Him because you're harboring these hurts from others. Right? And then with your habits, you know, you try to put something over and over and over again, and you just think, even if you have a relationship with Jesus, you think, I just can't move any further because I'm struggling with this one sin in my life and this one habit. You know, and you begin to talk yourself in to a negative routine. You begin to talk yourself in to a life that just dampers the joy that God freely gives you, that rests inside of it. You start replacing good daily habits, good connection with God, reading your Bible, spending time with Him in prayer, with the busyness of life to solve your problems. When the root of it is a connection and intimacy with Him to start your day. Right? How many have been there?
Amen.
Amen. Yeah. I don't like raising my hand, but I have to. I'm up here. Right? I feel it. I get it. You know, I get it. We've all been there. So, these feelings are very legitimate. They're not weird. You're not too broken. You're not too messed up. You're not too distant. You're not too anything to fully come back and rediscover this joy that God has given you. Right? But there's a few things you got to understand to get there. And the first step is, you know, when you're dealing with your history, is you can't forgive others until you forgive yourself. Yes, Pastor, we know the old saying, but it's easier said than done, right?
Amen.
It's easier said than done. So one of the great things about being a pastor is I get to pick on my family. So I'm going to ask my brother-in-law to come up here. He has no idea. Come on. See, if I did this to anybody else, they would be so mad. But I can do it to him, and he still has to be my brother-in-law. when him and Jessica were dating, I'd give him a grade every week, like, you're like a B- right now, or C-. You know, I don't. No, did I give you an A on the wedding day? No, it was when y'all had a baby. I gave you an A that day. You gave me a little niece. All right, so I got something for you. So I want you to just stand right over here. And I want you to hold this rock just like this, okay? And no, not this. There we go. I know. And you just stand there and look pretty. Well, just stand there. Okay? All right, so as we're going to talk about our past, how much you think that rock was? 4 or 5 pounds? Yeah, okay. I'm just checking. Anybody? Sound good, folks? 4 or 5 pounds. Okay, good. So we're talking about our history. We're talking about how we can't forgive others until you forgive yourself, right? But here's the deal. When you accept Jesus, when you ask Him for forgiveness, He forgives those past sins, right? But He also forgives you from those past sins. We forget that part, okay? That's where the guilt comes in. Yes, Jesus, thank you for forgiving me. But not only does He do that, He forgives you from them. That means He takes the chains away. He releases you from the burden of guilt. Okay? He forgets it. He never mentions it again. And He never will use it against you like other people will. How many times have you hurt somebody, and sure enough, 3 months later, they bring it up? Right? Yep, you've been there. That's called getting the bigger stick. Okay? If you're in an argument with anybody, or you're the person, and you're mad, and you have to go back in history and find something else, you lost. You lost, because you're not dealing with today. You're dealing with yesterday. Okay? So, we have this kind of thing that we do, and we do this, like we judge people by what they've done to us, and I understand that. I've been there. Okay? I've been there. And there's a difference between learning and then harboring the negative feelings. You can learn somebody's behaviors. You can learn somebody's personality and their heart. But to harbor those and not give grace is the heart. It's still about 4 pounds. Yeah. All right. So, we like to judge people because we're human. Okay. And we like to take their past and we determine what they've done in our past on how we're going to move forward with them. Jesus doesn't do that. See, we forgive, but we don't forget. Jesus forgives and He forgets. Okay? So, oh no, you can't say that. It's a little bit harder, right? Okay. Thank you. That's what guilt does. It's easy right now. Okay. It's easy right now, but over time, that thing don't weigh the same anymore. It hasn't changed. You're just getting weaker because you can't hold it anymore.
Amen.
Folks, your history does not define your future. You don't have to hold it anymore. You don't. I'm not going to put it in there because Jimmy will get mad later, but you can let it down. You didn't have to pick it up again with it. Rock's dirty. But whatever it is, that history, that brokenness, that hurt, whatever someone did to you or you did to someone else, and that guilt that you hold that's letting you define how you move forward, you're not supposed to be doing that. God's already forgiven you for it. He's already forgiven you from it. And He wants to help you move forward. It's a clean slate. Every time we ask forgiveness, it's a clean slate. Paul reminded Romans this in Romans 8:1. Therefore, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Not some, not a percentage, none. When you ask forgiveness, it's done.
Amen.
It's done. We are the problems. We're the ones that can't let it go. Jesus sees this potential He has created for your life, right? And how you can be used by Him. How you're His child and how much He loves you and how you fit into this grand plan of the kingdom. If you could just let go of some of this stuff that's in your past, you could go a lot faster, right? We hold on to that because we haven't forgiven ourselves many times, right? You're choosing not to see the person that Jesus sees you, that you are. You're choosing. That's why we have this series called Choose Joy. The day should not affect us, but it does. So we have to make active choices to change our perspective to where we choose this joy that burns inside of us. Paul explains it again like this to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 5, 16, 17. At one time, we talk of Christ merely from a human point of view. We know Jesus. You know Him as a historical character. You know who He was when He walked on the earth. How differently we know Him now. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become what? A new person. The old life is gone and the new life has begun. Anyone. We have to move from a knowledge of Jesus to an understanding of Jesus. Two totally different things. You may know who Jesus is, but you may not be experiencing who Jesus is because you're still holding rocks. Want to throw it at somebody. Ain't no time for that. Right? The second step that will help you begin this experience of joy is to know that you can let go of that, but you are healed from your hurts already. You might be picking at the scab and opening the wound back up over and over and over again, but God's already healing it. If you just leave it alone, it's done, right? Anybody got kids that keep picking at stuff? God, just leave it alone. I think God's looking at us like, if you will leave it alone, it will go away. You've been forgiven. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Right? Physical hurt is this measurable thing, right? But sometimes, many times, we have this emotional hurt, and it kind of creeps in. It's like this small little cancer that grows and grows and grows and grows. Right? Physically, if I break my arm, I put a cast on it, I know that it's healing. But many times, the journey to emotional healing and spiritual healing and all that, we don't have these little measuring sticks. We have to trust the process. Trust our Creator. Trust the one that gave us the forgiveness. Right? And just because you're continuing to hurt, right, doesn't mean that He's not already healing. It doesn't mean that He's not working. We want instant gratification in our society. We want a fix right now. Who remembers when you had dial-up internet, you waited 20 minutes for a page you loaded? And you didn't need any of the information that was on that page. You just wanted to see what the bottom of the page looked like. It just rolling down. And now we're mad if, like a movie we're watching online, buffers a little bit. And my kids like to look at the crazy faces the actors have when it buffers. Look at that. Guys, we're an instant gratification society. We want Jesus to fix our problems right now. But we don't see the big picture. We don't see what He's teaching us in the pain and in the hurt. And just because you're still hurting doesn't mean that He's not healing. You're just not going to endure and survive a hurt when you're a believer and when you're asking for healing. You're going to use it. It's going to be a tool that's going to be used for the kingdom later. So He wants to refine it sometimes. He wants you to learn from it and gain this deeper perspective of where you've been. And sometimes these lives have setbacks, and it's in God's plan to set you up for a greater plan and a greater purpose. You just have to trust the process. You just have to trust the process. And you'll eventually use that hurt that you overcome to help someone else overcome. Paul said it like this in 2 Corinthians 1, 3-5. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in some of our troubles. All of our troubles, right? Comforts us in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. He comforts us in all of our troubles with this condition, so that we can help others. What a responsibility. What has God healed you from? What has He comforted you through that you can help someone else go through? They need you. They need your encouragement. Right? They need you to help them pull them out of that mud pit a little bit. God brings us hope to this hopelessness that you may have, but it's not just for you. This light into a darkness is there for you to share. Right? And you can take that and guide others. It's like a funnel. God just gives you all this great healing, comfort, all the forgiveness, and He funnels it down for you to give to somebody else. That's how it works. And finally, the last step that can help you experience joy is to understand that you are free from your habits. You know why you still have the habits? It's because you may still want them. I don't want to talk about that, Pastor. See, we like to justify our sin. We like to justify our habits because they're too hard to break. We don't really see and understand the detriment of sin in our life. We've become casual American Christians. I'll go to church when I feel like it, get my warm fuzzy, and then when that wears off in about 3 weeks, I'll go back and get my warm fuzzy again. But we don't understand the way we live in our relationship with Jesus Monday through Saturday is why we continue to feel we need the warm fuzzy. Okay? This place can be a wonderful place, and I feel it is for people that need hope, restoration, redemption, forgiveness, and a fresh start. But if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, when you come in these doors on Sunday, this should be a place of encouragement. It should be a place of celebration. It should be a place of helping others. Because why? Because we're walking this path. We're supposed to be walking this path with Jesus throughout the week to where we can't help but celebrate the week He's given us. And if you don't believe that, go serve in a third world country. And come back and walk around with the, lemon face. Because you'll quickly understand that we are extremely blessed. We are extremely encouraged. And we have a responsibility to break the habits, the sin that continually entangles us and makes us hold these rocks from time to time. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, like poof, It ain't, but it may take you changing one or two little things in your lifestyle to keep you from going down those paths. Right? Just a little change in habit, like making your bed. Not to say that'll fix the sin problem, but maybe it's, having an accountability partner. Maybe it's making sure that you get up a little bit early so you have that time with Jesus that you know you need to have. Whatever it is, you got to find these ways to break the cycle of sin in your life and these habits, right? Because, see, there's 18 inches between this thing and this thing. And the problem is, between this thing and this thing, is that we take Jesus, we know we should put Him first in our life, and by the time it gets here, we replace it. That 18 inches is dangerous. It's dangerous. We know the right thing to do, like Paul says, but we don't sometimes. We don't sometimes. This is happening with believers all over the country. You know why? It's because from here to here, we've put other things in front of God. Many of you know about the Israelites. The Israelites, when they were being led by Moses and the sea was parting and God was doing great things, and boy, they were on fire for Jesus, for God, and I mean, wow, miracles. And then as soon as they got comfortable, they start complaining. As soon as they got comfortable, they started worshiping false gods. And then God has to remind them who He is and who brought them where they are. How about the Holy Spirit? Let Him remind you where you were and where He wants you to go. How about being vulnerable and letting your heart break a little bit and understanding that there's a great promise that God's given you in a future if you can just break some habits, accept this healing, and forget about the past because He's already forgiven you from it. There's no sense in us walking around, right, and feeling all gloom and doom. Somebody once told me, every day you wake up, you get to choose to be a Tigger or an Eeyore. Great analogy. Some days when I'm sick, I like to be Eeyore. But you can wake up tomorrow and you can choose to be a Tigger or an Eeyore. Everybody loved to see Tigger coming, even though he knocked him over and licked him on the face and was all excited. But when Eeyore came, they're like, oh, hey, Eeyore. You see, like, Rabbit would, like, run away from him and be like, okay, I'm busy, see you. Hey, I want to be a Tigger, right? You should want to be a Tigger because the joy that God has, you just want to bounce like Tigger did. If you don't have that, something's holding it back. And it's either your history, your hurts, or your habits. Bottom line, we have an opportunity to live with this joy already set in us. See, we're free. John 8:36 says, so if the Son has set you free, you will be free indeed. Indeed. Ain't no chains can hold you down. Right? If you choose to let them go. One of the things I like to talk about is your 5 friends. See, many of us surround ourselves with people who do not help us. Now, there's some people that you need to help. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. People in your relationships you're either influencing or being influenced by. Okay? And some people that you've allowed in your life are not a positive influence, and you're not influencing them in a positive way. So you show me the 5 friends that are closest to you, and I'll show you the next 5 years of your life. See if they're affecting you or if you're affecting them. Folks, you can only do so much by yourself, and you're going to have help. You're going to have help to overcome the habits and the hurts and the history. That's why God gave us a church. That's why He gave us a family. And I want to challenge you to not let your life become a never-ending cycle of negativity, a never-ending cycle of bitterness, a never-ending cycle of judgment. Stop at the red light, turn your music up, and get out and dance every now and then. In the rain.
That's right.
It's okay. Okay? Just keep it clean. I don't need no stories. Local church, entire church does, flash mob in the middle of 85. No, we don't do that, okay? So, sometimes you just need to have fun again. And that sparks everything. Take some time and rest. Take some time and connect with Jesus again. Take some time and drop the boulders and just start clean. Take your to-do list, throw it out the window, and just start another one tomorrow. That's what I do a lot of times. You know why? You ain't got to be perfect. You just got to be passionate. Just passionately chase after Jesus. Don't worry about being perfect. Today, you have an opportunity to let go. You may be here to see someone get baptized, but here's why I know you're here. Whether you're a regular attender, a partner of the church, or you're here for baptism, whatever, I know this one thing, that God had you here in this message for a reason. So there's something you're holding on to. If we come in here and we hear God's word, the Bible clearly tells us that when God's word is spoken, it changes the hearts of men and women. So if we come in here and for some reason we don't take what we've heard and it doesn't change us, then we have to work on something. Like we've put up some roadblocks. We come and we see what God can do so that we can be changed and go and tell others how He can change them. Today, if you are ready to do that, you're ready to drop some boulders, you're ready to experience true forgiveness, to start over, clean slate, and experience the joy that can only come from God through the Holy Spirit, I'm going to ask you to say a prayer with me in just a minute. I'm going to ask you all to bow your heads, close your eyes, and in this moment between you and God, I want to ask you to be vulnerable. I want to ask you to really examine your heart and your soul and ask yourself this question. If you were to continue the life that you have and are doing, would it result in more joy and fulfillment and a purpose that Jesus has for you? Or is it just a never-ending cycle? If it's just a never-ending cycle of a life that's God doesn't have for you, then forgiveness is the first step. Ask for forgiveness. If you've never given your life to Jesus, that is definitely part of that. So today, if you want to stop the cycle, you want to start clean, I want to ask you to say this prayer. Dear God, there's sin and habits in my life that keep me from being close to you. that block the joy that I have in my life. And today, I want you to free me, forgive me for my past, my history. I want you to heal me. If you've asked that for the first time, and you've asked Jesus to come into your heart, I just want you to look up, raise your hand at me, whatever it takes, to just notify me so that we can walk on this path together. I can pray and encourage you, walk beside you. That invitation is never closed. You can pray and ask for forgiveness. Give Jesus your life anytime. But make sure when you do, you let me know. Let somebody know. Let another believer know so that you're not alone. Today, I know there can be healing if you're hurt. I know that you can drop some guilt and not hold the boulders anymore. And you can break some of those habits. But it starts today. It's a decision that's made today. How you live tomorrow is a decision you made today. And where you'll be next Sunday will be a decision that you make today. And where you'll be next Sunday will be a decision you make today. See, habits are created by passionately making decisions for change. So today I want to challenge you to make positive decisions and stick to them. All right? Let's stand and pray. Lord, we love you. We thank you for all that you've given us. We thank you for the beauty of forgiveness, the beauty of healing, and the beauty of you breaking the habits, helping us break these habits that we have that pull us away from you. God, as we continue into baptism, we continue into knowing each other and celebrating life change. I just want to thank you for so much that you